Hey everybody, this is Jack Hammer of the Santa Rosa Press Democrat. Hope you're all doing well. As you know, the 49ers held their second practice of OTAs Wednesday afternoon. Excuse me, that would actually be their sixth practice of OTAs on Wednesday afternoon. Today being the only day of the three this week that will be open to the media. Here is what stood out. Ray McCloud. The free agent acquisition from Pittsburgh had a busy day on Wednesday. McCloud's 5 targets were the most of any 49ers receiver, and he was able to haul in 4 of them. The one ball that McCloud was not able to bring in was no fault of his own, though. McCloud was wide open, deep down the left sideline, but Nate Sudfeld's pass was a little too strong and would fall incomplete. Ambry Thomas, the second-year cornerback, worked with the starters during the team and 7-on-7 periods in place of Travarius Ward. No word on what kept Ward out of those practice periods. On the 4th play of the day, Thomas was able to get his hand in the way of a deep throw down the left sideline from Trey Lance to Marcus Johnson. Johnson had a couple of steps on Thomas. He had him beat, but the pass from Lance was a little short. The under throw was all that Thomas needed to be able to catch up, get his hand on the ball, and make the play. Trey Sermon. The second-year running back saw a lot of action with the first unit early in practice. This was a change from what we saw a week ago when Jeff Wilson Jr. and JaMycal Hasty were splitting those reps. Sermon did not make the most of his opportunity on Wednesday, fumbling the ball away on his first carry of the day after picking up about 5 yards over the left side. Next up, we have Jordan Mason. The undrafted free agent rookie impressed for the second practice in a row, showing good vision and explosiveness. Mason saw a hole in the middle on a zone run to the left and exploded through, untouched for a big gain. It was a really nice play. Started out to his left. You could see the hole open up over the middle. One cut, he was through, and then he was able to weave his way down the right side to the right sideline and up the field. Just a really nice play on Mason's part. Going back to last year during training camp, Elijah Mitchell was the one who really stood out to me. So far, that title goes to Mason this offseason. We'll see how that progresses throughout the rest of OTA's mandatory minicamp, and then when the pads come on during the training camp portion of this offseason. But so far, Mason looks really strong with his speed and his ability. The thing with Mason is that when he cuts back, it's there is the acceleration and top speed are almost instantaneous. He sees that hole, he makes the cut, and boom, he's right back to full speed again. Really good job, really good player. It's going to be fun to see how he progresses as this offseason goes through and what he's able to do when the full team comes together in July and August for training camp. Veteran wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk. Aiyuk was able to haul in only one of the 4 targets that came his way on Wednesday. On one play, Aiyuk ran a comeback route on the left sideline, went down about 15 yards, came back to the sideline. Trey Lance made a perfect throw. It was low and away from the defender. Aiyuk just flat out dropped it. Hit him in the hands. It was a little low, like I said, but that's where it had to be to keep the defender out of the play. And that's a ball that Aiyuk has got to be able to come up with. The veteran did come back later, though, to snatch another really nice ball from Trey Lance a few plays later. Aiyuk ran a rail route down the left side, and Lance fit the ball perfectly between the coverage of the underneath corner and the safety. It was a really nice ball by Lance, and a really good job of Aiyuk on the route to be able to get open and find the hole. Really quick before I move on to the next topic, the next player that stood out, just want to shout out a couple of folks. 187's in the house. He says, bang, bang. Shay Martinez, he's in here with us. And then also E. Kim says, hey, Jack, good to have you on board. E. Kim also asks, any reason given why certain players didn't participate in the OTAs today? No, we didn't get any of those. Kyle Shanahan did not speak with the media today. Typically, the assistant coaches don't share that information with us. So that question wasn't even brought up. I would, based on the fact that Danny Gray wasn't participating, Drake Jackson, and a couple of the other rookies, I would say that it's probably just a day off. Early in practice, they're now on day 6. Today was the last day. Maybe it was either a day off or maybe they had something that they had to take care of away from the facility. But no explanation was given to us. So something to keep an eye on, though, for sure, moving forward. Hopefully had nothing to do with injuries for any of those guys. Dante Johnson, the do-everything veteran defensive back, he came away with the only interception on the day. Nate Sudfeld had Tanner Hudson open over the middle. However, Hudson slipped, fell down, just as Sudfeld was beginning his throwing motion, and Johnson was in the right place at the right time, was able to step over the top of Hudson, pick the ball off, and return it all the way back the other way for a touchdown. That just really seems to be the story of Johnson's career, right? A guy who's in the right place at the right time. What makes Johnson so impactful for the 49ers is what I said there in the beginning, do everything. He can play all the positions in the secondary, corner, slot, safety. It doesn't matter. And that versatility is what makes him so good for the 49ers and why they like him so much. So it was good to see him be able to step up and make a really nice play today. Another really nice play came from Jimmy Ward, and this was really the defensive play of the day. Trey Lance tried to fit the ball into tight end Tyler Croft on the deep seam route down the middle. Croft was running down. It looked like he was going to be open. Looked like Lance was going to be able to fit the ball in there. But Ward was able to see it. He read the play perfectly, and he was able to go up and kind of went over the back of Croft. There was a little bit of a collision, but he was able to get up and over, get his hand in there, knock the ball away, record a pass breakup. It was a beautiful play by Ward, and the kind of thing that we're going to need to see from the veteran safety moving on. I was asked the other day kind of why has he not been re-signed yet this year, or what would it take for the 49ers to re-sign him? And plays like that are what we're going to need to see from Ward if they're going to bring him back in 2023. Just being around the ball, making plays like that, it was just a really nice one. And that brings us to Trey Lance. Today there was a really concerted effort by the offense, it seemed like, to push the ball down the field more than we saw in last week's practice. Last week it was pretty much digs at in cutting routes at about 15 yards with some underneath receivers. It was kind of we're either going to hit the linebacker, hit the check down, or we're going to hit over the middle. Today was a little more wide open, and they were really trying to get the ball down the field. So with that being said, Lance responded well. He completed 9 of 14 passes on the day. Would have been 10 of 14 if Aiyuk hadn't dropped the ball on the sideline. The other incompletion, one of those was the really nice play by Jimmy Ward. That's going to happen. Sometimes the defense wins. Other than that, there was a couple of balls that were just incomplete. He had Brandon Aiyuk running an over route on one. It was going to have to be a really nice play. He was open, but it was one of those. It was going to have to be a really nice fit in there, and it just sailed on him just a little bit. It would have had to been a real nice pass to get it in there, but it was one of those where it was a good shot to take. And then there was another shot to Brandon Aiyuk down the left sideline that just fell incomplete. Nobody was in the area. I don't know if there was a misread between the quarterback and the receiver on that one, on where if there was supposed to be a break or if he was supposed to go deep. But that was the one that was kind of a weird looking play just because it fell in a spot where there was nobody around. As I mentioned earlier, Lance had the big throw down the left sideline to Aiyuk, though. That was a completion. He had the deep pass down the middle that was broken up by Ward. But coming back from that pass breakup, we saw one of the best throws of the day from Lance. I mean, the rail route to Aiyuk was nice, but Aiyuk had done such a good job. He was wide open. There wasn't a whole lot for Lance to do other than just put that ball in there. And he's really been showing some nice touch, too. And he was able to do that. But on this particular play, Lance came back, and they tried to run that same play down the middle of the field that got broken up. And this time, though, it was Ross Dwelley running the route. And instead of going from the right side, Dwelley was running up the left side. And Lance was able to just put the ball in, just a perfect ball, drilled it in right over the top of Talano Hufanga and right in front of Jimmy Ward for a big completion. Dwelley's a little bit taller than Croft, so I think he was able to, that helped out the play as well. But the ball placement by Lance there was perfect. And it's just, what we've seen from Lance so far in the 2 practices that have been open to the media, I've got to say that Lance is showing all the characteristics that prompted the 49ers to use 3 first-rounders to trade up and get the North Dakota State product. I think that teams around the league just need to watch out, because the way that he's looking right now, if this continues on and he continues on this trajectory, it's going to be, all the things that the positive things you've heard about Trey Lance from folks like myself and some of the other folks that follow the 49ers and content creators and so on and so forth, that's going to happen. And it's going to be something to watch. And, again, he just needs to continue to do it. We'll see what happens as the team gets closer to the training camp. Real quick, there was a couple of questions over here in the comment section. I do want to get to this one really quick because this is a nice one about me. It says, this is from my buddy Rob Shue. Hey, Rob, good to see that you're on here. He says, these are the updates I need. Jack, you're the man. No, you're the man, Rob. That's why I always like talking to you. I'm sorry we missed our show on Monday with the holiday. We'll get back to it next week for sure. Niner by Nature 88 says, Jack, how is Trey's arm angle throws? I don't see anything different from the arm angle. You go back and you look at some of the videos from last year and you see him throwing, and it's out here to the, just over the shoulder a little bit. Like, it's not straight up and down. It's a little out here. It's the same thing that we saw last year from that. The only difference is that last year, just to kind of show you, there was a little bit more, the ball was getting back here more. Now it's a little tighter. He's not really winding up quite as much. It's just sorry for the train in the background, but instead of, pulling his hand so far back, it's just quicker. He's getting quicker from the time that he separates his hands till the time that ball comes out, has sped up. And it's all good right now with Trey Lance. He's taking leadership in the huddle from what we're hearing from the players that have come up to the podium last week and then this week. Lance is taking ownership in the huddle. He's speaking up a lot more, and it shows. He's the quarterback now. He doesn't have Jimmy Garoppolo to stand behind and learn. He's the man, and it's showing up. And he's doing it every day in practice. So far so good with Trey Lance, and it's going to be fun to watch as we go on, and we'll see how next week works with week 3 of the OTAs. And then really quick, as we kind of wrap this up, a couple more things. JaMycal Hasty, can't go past this one. JaMycal Hasty he was working with the starters last week. He kind of slipped down this week. I think they're just rotating guys around, trying to get different looks with this running back group without Elijah Mitchell practicing. On one particular play, though, Hasty was able to slip out of the backfield and beat fragile linebacker Warren Burks deep down the right sideline. Nate Sudfeld was able to see it, and he was able to put the pass up and right in the hands. It was just perfect. I laid it right out there. He was able to get his hands out and make the reception down the right sideline. Really nice play by Sudfeld to put the ball where he did and allow Hasty to continue running. That ball placement was what Lance needed to do on the breakup that Ambry Thomas had earlier. But just a really nice play. Like I said, it was out there, and Hasty continued to run, got underneath it. Beautiful play on both their parts. Before practice, I had somebody reach out to me, and they wanted to know a little bit about what was happening with Leon O'Neal. The undrafted free agent safety had a little bit of a rough day, though. This was not his best day from the reps that we were able to see, what I was able to gather. Before they went into the team period, the defensive backs were working on just the coverage stuff, and he got beat over the middle on a throw from Kyle Shanahan to another coach. An assistant coach beat him over the middle to the inside. It was just a guy ran a little in route right over the middle, kind of like what we saw the tight ends running today. It was really that kind of a route. He wasn't able to get enough depth. The linebacker, the coach got inside of him, and it is hard to stop Kyle Shanahan. The guy's got a quick release. You watch him on the podium when he's talking to the media. It's quick there, and then he's also got the quick right hand. Typically, I've joked in the past about Shanahan in those periods because I think he runs those because he wants to make sure all the interceptions come from him and not from his quarterbacks. And today he was able to get one back, and he got a couple of them over the middle between the linebackers and past the safety. So that was one for Neal. And then another time that didn't work out well for Neal was JaMycal Hasty. They were in the shotgun formation. They ran an inside run out of the gun. He went through the line of scrimmage, and he and O'Neal collided a little bit. Hasty was able to maintain his footing and keep going, and O'Neal ended up on his backside. So just a little bit of a rough day. Undrafted free agent, working his way through it. I know he's a fan favorite. He's working hard. We'll see how it goes. But he's got a long way to go to catch up to Jimmy Ward and these other safeties that the 49ers have right now that are currently in place. And then last but not least, wanted to hit on the nickelback position. I think that's important because that's really one of the spots you're seeing a lot of competition right now. K'Wan Williams no longer with the 49ers, so they need to fill that role. Darquez Denard, I've talked about him quite a bit recently, but he continues to be the leader in that race. He was the guy who took all the first team reps today, and he's been taking those all throughout the offseason. After Denard, when he went after Denard, we saw Samuel Womack. He got a lot of run today in the slot. Last week, he was getting all of his reps from the outside. Today, all of Womack's reps came from the inside. And then we also saw Diameter Lenore lined up in the slot. And then last but not least, we had Quantrez Knight. So those three, the same three that we had before, but you're seeing today, you saw Womack get a lot more reps in the inside. It was only 1 or 2 reps last time. He took more this time. And then Lenore getting some there, and then Quantrez Knight as well. So, just kind of looking at those guys, Denard seems to be like the guy that is most likely to get that position just based on the fact that he's got the thickness and the build of a guy who can take the pounding, playing inside and making those tackles in the run game, and kind of the way the 49ers sometimes utilize that nickelback is almost like a third linebacker. And Denard just kind of really fits the bill, and he's going to be somebody to really keep an eye on. I know there's a lot of folks who might not know a whole lot about Denard. If you get yourself over to 49ers.pressdemocrat.com, I wrote up an article on him last Friday. Denard was taken in the first round of the 2014 draft ahead of teammates Jason Verrett. He went ahead of Jason Verrett, and he went ahead of Jimmy Ward. That's how much talent Denard has. And, he's struggled at different times. For whatever reason, he just wasn't able to put it all together. But he is putting it together, it seems like, with the 49ers. He played well for them last year down the stretch in Week 18, the one time that one game he got into. So we'll see how it works out with him. But he definitely seems to be a favorite amongst the 49ers coaching staff with all of the reps that he's getting. Shay asks, is Danny Gray still beating the secondary? We didn't get to see, unfortunately, we didn't get to see Gray today. He wasn't at practice. So not able to really speak on that from some of the videos that I've seen. I think it was from last week, though. He was doing pretty well. So, he definitely had some deep shots last week. Don't know how it's looked this week. Niner by Nature 88 asked, Jack, did Trey throw a bomb? Yeah, he was throwing a number of balls down the field today. He had the deep ball down the left sideline. Like I said, it was to Marcus Johnson, I believe it was, down the left side. It was a little bit under. Johnson had a couple of steps on it. It should have been a completion. Lance just underthrew it a little bit, and that little bit of an underthrow, that's the margin of error that you need in the NFL. These guys are so fast and so quick. He was able to catch up to it, and Thomas was able to knock the ball away. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, that's the play I was talking about earlier, the Niner by Nature. Definitely. I don't know. He didn't moss him. He didn't get up and get or anything like that. He just ran up and got inside of him and made the catch. It was a tough one. I got to say this though. In fairness to O'Neal, he wasn't the only one that got beat by that ball boy today. There was a couple other ones to do as well. Justin E comes in. He says, "Did you see anything from Jordan Mason today?" Yeah, you might have missed it earlier, Justin, but Mason's looking good. I last year during training camp, the running back that caught my eye that I really liked that just stood out to me was Elijah Mitchell. And so far throughout this training camp, or not even training camp, just OTA period, Jordan Mason's the guy that's standing out to me. He's the thing with Mason is he's quick and he's explosive. And what I mean by that is when he sees a hole, he cuts. And when he cuts, it doesn't take him long to get back up to top speed. He hits that hole, boom, and as soon as he sees it, it's a step, and he's right back at top speed. It's really impressive to watch. The one that he had today, he's running a zone to the left side. Everything kind of gets washed down. He sees the hole open up over the middle. He plants his left foot, cuts up the middle, and then he's able to just kind of keep going against the grain. Everybody's continuing to run this way while he's going the opposite, and he goes untouched up the right sideline. So just a really nice play by Mason. That's two of those in a row now in practice, back-to-back practice. The media has been available to see that we've seen Jordan Mason make a big run and be impressive with his ability to run. It's going to be fun to see what he looks like once the pads come on at the end of July and August when we get into training camp. Let's see if there's any others really quick before we move on. That looks about it. Let me see if there's any more questions. I'm sorry, let me get this one more time. All right, so Trey Thomas comes in with a good question. This was actually something we were talking about today. I was on the field, and it came up, and is Aiyuk taking it? Trey Thomas asked, "Is Aiyuk taking advantage of Debo not being there?" My answer to that right now would be no. Not that he's in any kind of danger of not being a starter or any of that kind of thing, but Aiyuk's not standing out. Like I said, they threw the ball his way 4 times today. Caught one of them, and that was it. He had to drop. One ball was a couple, 2 of those 4 were not the perfect balls. One of them was definitely not perfect. Another one, I don't know if it was miscommunication between Lance and Aiyuk or not. But I will say that I would expect a lot more out of Brandon Aiyuk, considering I think that Aiyuk is one of the best receivers on the team, and he's a guy that can really step up this year with Trey Lance. And so to not see him getting the ball more often is a little bit of a disappointment. But got to remember, too, we're in week 2 of OTAs, and things change quickly. Right now they're just working on getting plays in, working on those things, drilling them out, getting video on everybody so that they can work on this stuff throughout the rest of the offseason before they come back for camp. I'm sure that Aiyuk's going to be fine once they get there, when they get back in July. I would just like to see him be able to come out and make some more plays, see him being the guy that's getting the ball down the field. Like I said, he did have the one really nice one on the rail route on the left side. I would just like to see the ball hitting him in the hands a little bit more than we have so far. I think that'll probably come as some of the receiving group gets thinned out throughout training camp and so on. Going back to Jordan Mason really quick, Ricardo asked, does Jordan Mason look like a guy that will make the 53? That's going to be a tough ask. I don't know if any of these undrafted free agent rookies are going to be able to make the team. It's going to be interesting to see just how many of the draft picks are able to make this roster. They have a really the 49ers have a really deep roster, and it's going to be tough for these guys. Now, Jordan Mason, you start to look at it, the running back room, the way it consists right now, Elijah Mitchell, you can pretty much pencil him in that he's going to be back. You would think that Tyrion Davis-Price would be back, but he didn't practice today. And we haven't really seen a whole lot of him. There hasn't been, he's not a receiving back. Tyrion Davis-Price is going to be a running back. And we haven't really been able to see much of that. And today with a little bit more of a team period, it would have been nice to be able to see him out there, but he didn't practice today. But I think, you've got Sermon, and then Trey Sermon, and he's struggling a little bit. So who's going to be the odd man out of that group? It's either going to be Hasty, Jeff Wilson Jr., or Sermon. One or two of those guys is going to have to fall out in order for Mason to make it in. I think it's going to be tough for the 49ers to get Jordan Mason, depending on how much run he gets in the preseason, to be able to get him through waivers and back onto the practice squad if they were to cut him at the end of training camp. So definitely something to keep an eye on. But right now, I really like what I've seen out of Jordan Mason, and I think this is a guy that can make plays for the 49ers if he's given a chance. Didn't really see a whole lot of Morris asked about Jason Verrett, Tavarius Moore. Didn't really get to see a whole lot of those. As far as, I think it was Jason Verrett, who's the defensive lineman. One of the things that they're doing in these drills is they want these guys to chase the ball down all the time. And I'm pretty sure that it was Verrett who, at least on one play early in team, didn't do it. And he was hearing about it from the defensive line coach, Chris Kosarick. Oh, you're talking about Jason Verrett. Okay, sorry. Went to a couple different ones because there's a Barrett that plays on the defensive line as well. Jason Verrett, he was at practice today, not practicing. He was on the sidelines. Looked good. He's walking around. There's nothing on his knee, and they're hoping to get him back. And if they're able to get Jason Verrett, if he's able to come in training camp and he's able to be fully healthy, and he's able to get going and get after it like he was last year, and the year before, that's a huge get for the 49ers. The other piece with Verrett that's nice is he does have an injury history, so that's a problem. But it's not as big of a problem this year as it was last year. The 49ers as a whole in the secondary seem to be a lot deeper than they were a year ago. So you can take a risk on a guy like Jason Verrett this year. I think the 49ers should be a lot more comfortable doing that this year than maybe last year, at least for me. I don't look at that signing quite the same way that I did last year. I'm a little more positive on it. So JaMycal Ryan spoke about Jason Verrett today and how excited he is to have him back. So we'll see how that all works out. And then Niner by Nature 88 again comes in and says, Jack, did Hufanga look different from last year? Look, telling Hufanga, I said early on this offseason that Talon Hufanga is going to be the guy that they're going to be looking at to start in the secondary next to Jimmy Ward, unless they were to bring back Jaquazi Tart. This was the guy. They drafted him last year. Everything about Talon Hufanga, everything about the way that he's practicing, the things that we're hearing from the coaching staff, meaning today with DeMeco Ryans, Jimmy Ward, and the things that he said last week, Hufanga is going to be the guy. He's looking good. Some of the times when you're out there, like right now, when they don't have pads on, the safeties and the defensive backs can't make some plays that they're going to make in the regular season because they can't make the contact, quite so much contact with receivers, so they'll let up and things like that. I think that he's going to be really good. He improved quite a bit over last season through the course of it, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Talon Hufanga brings to the table because the 49ers are high on him. His teammates have spoken highly of him as well, so it's definitely going to be something to keep an eye on with the 49ers in 2022. And so far, Hufanga's hair is longer. That's true. Watt did come in with that. Hufanga's hair is longer. It's looking beautiful. Like Jimmy Ward said last week, he is in line to get a nice shampoo deal this offseason if he goes out and performs well. I'm going to finish this up with one thing just because it was asked over here, and he says, "Tell the truth about Trey. What did you see?" Well, like I said earlier, Trey Lance looks really good. He's throwing the ball with more touch than we saw last year. Today, like I said, he put the ball down the field more often, and to hit 9 out of 14 when you're mostly working down the field is really good. Trey Lance is going to. I'm excited to see what he brings to the table and if he's able to continue to grow. This is a guy who, I wasn't really high on Trey Lance at the beginning of the draft process last year. Wasn't at all. And then when the 49ers made the trade up to 3, spent a lot of time watching him. And the more that I really focused in on what he does, that my thought on him changed. I still felt like Mac Jones was the best quarterback in the draft, but I had Trey Lance right there behind him at the second best for the 49ers there in the third round, or at number 3, and they were able to go make that happen. And I've spoken about this quite a bit, that I felt like letting Trey Lance sit on the bench and learn was going to be what's last year after, you could tell that Jimmy Garoppolo was going to be the starter. That was going to be the best case scenario for Lance. And I really believe that. I think it's showing. It's showing with what he's doing on the field. It's showing with what he's doing in the leadership and the fact that he's very, very confident from everything that we're hearing. So looking forward to seeing how this team continues to come together. We'll be back next week for week 3 of OTAs. And then following up with that, we have mandatory minicamp, which will be interesting because there's some players that we haven't seen that I would expect to see here during the mandatory minicamp portion of it. So, keep it locked into the channel. I will be doing, the next couple of days are going to be a little bit tough for me. It's graduation season. High school graduations coming left and right. And I've got some graduations that I'm going to be going to over the next couple of days. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get on and stream too much, but keep an eye out here for the channel. If nothing else, you'll be able to get a 49ers according to Jack or something like that that'll be popping up. But I want to take a moment really quick before we shut this down. I want to thank all of you for watching. This is a great stream, 210 people watching at this point. The comment section, you guys and gals have some really good comments and questions today. I want to thank you for that. And if you could just hit the like button, though, before you leave. If you can get over to the subscribe button, hit that as well. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, all those subscribes, help drive the volume. The like buttons help with that as well. And get yourselves over to 49ers.pressdemocrat.com as well. So check out everything that's going on over there on the written side of it as well. Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a great rest of your Wednesday. We'll talk soon. Take care.